Hello and welcome to this quick video. We're taking a very quick look at the new RE-mPB version 2, which is the power distribution board from BrainFPV. Now, for those of you that haven't already seen it, we have a complete series where we use this great little flight controller and power distribution board together to make a really cool model. Now, the really cool thing about that model is that it has a vector-based on-screen display, and it's now at the heart of what is currently my favourite quad to fly around in. And I've just received the order for my next quad. I like it so much we're going to build another one. Probably won't make a series because we've already done that, but another one just for me to fly around with. This time though, when I ordered it, I've also ordered, because I quite like having the barometer, I've also got the RE1, and quite nicely the guys included one of these little things, which is a stack protector or keychain, which is a little, I'm not sure what it's made of, I think it's a PCB, but it has the embossed logo of the BrainFPV stuff at the top as well. So that'll be nice to put on the top rather than having to 3D print something. But the reason for the video is because the RE1-mPB version 2 is now the one that you're getting. And this is the first one that I've had here, so it's an opportunity for me to show you this thing and to talk about what's different, because in that series that I've just mentioned we actually did the build with the original version, not this version here. Now if I open this packet, there is the new version, and I can tell straight away it is an awful lot lower profile. So let me very quickly talk about what's different between this thing, which is the RE1-mPB V2, versus the one that we used in the series where we actually built that quadcopter. The first couple of things to talk about are what hasn't changed. So in terms of the board itself, dimensionally it's exactly the same. It's a companion board for the BrainFPV RE1 flight controller, which has that vector-based on-screen display, and the pinouts are exactly the same. So you don't need to worry about replacing or not being able to follow the instructions in that video series because it's identical. As I've already said, it is a lot lower profile, which is nice. So they've used these kind of low profile, I'm guessing they're caps, actually, capacitors, which means that it'll make a smaller size stack, which is handy because I was having to work a little bit to make it fit all in that particular frame that I was using for the build. Now supports up to 6S and 130 amp rating, so for those of us that want to really push their quads to the max and want to run a 6.5 or 6X setup, then you absolutely can. A couple of changes on the outputs. So the outputs along the top here, and all of this, by the way, is covered in the build manual. I've just been looking and I'm very pleased to see that the build manual, typical for BrainFPV actually, is already updated and talks about the differences between the two bits of kit. But if I go back to the bench for a second, there is the 5 volts that you use for the flight controller. There's a 5 volt now at 1 amp. That originally was at 1.25 amps, which was miles more than you needed to run something like a camera anyway. A camera is going to be using a fraction of that. A filtered output, and that was originally 750 milliamps. It's now 1.25 amps, so that's going to be helpful if you're going to connect it up to something that needs a little bit more oomph. And the last connection here, see if the camera's gonna, there we go, it says 10 volts and ground, that bit there. Now actually it's not 10 volts and ground, there's a little solderable pad at the back that lets you choose between 5 volts and 10 volts out, but that's rated at a much higher 1 amp, where before that was a little 12 volt out. I don't know if you remember me talking about it, but it only had 150 milliamps out, which was almost neither use nor ornament. The fact that that'll now run at 10 volts at 1 amp is going to be perfect. That's exactly where I would wire my FPV transmitter to. The last thing to talk about is, and just again cover this in the manual, if you're going to use this versus the original one that we used in the series, then you have to change the voltage scaling. There's details in the manual for that. You're going to have a voltage scale of 110 in Betaflight for it all to read perfectly, and you'll need to make a change in Deronin if you're using that on the flight controller instead. So hopefully that helps those of you that have seen this. Those are the changes. You can absolutely follow along with the build video as we have already done. The only difference is big differences here, I guess, is the fact that it'll now support up to 6S, and we now have a much more useful output here for our FPV transmitter. Thank you for taking the time to watch that video, and particularly for watching right to the very end. We try and release a video on Tuesday and Friday, and sometimes we'll release 1 or 2 extra ones in a week as well. All of the videos on the channel are organised into easy to use playlists, so do have a look in there, because if you're interested in a subject, we organise all the videos on that subject so you can find them easily all together in one place. If you like what we're doing, then please like and subscribe and tell others about the channel so they can come and join as well. We're available in all of the usual social media places, particularly in places like Instagram, Twitter, and we also share all of our 3D designs on Thingiverse.